At Fort Lee, Virginia, the August sun blazed relentlessly across the vast training grounds, filling the air with a mingled scent of dust, diesel fuel, and sweat. Private Sarah Jennings and her company, a regular infantry unit of the 101st Airborne Division, were conducting afternoon equipment maintenance. Her camouflage uniform clung to her back, darkened with sweat. She occupied a relatively quiet corner, a disassembled M249 squad automatic weapon beside her. Her movements were fluid and precise, with a near-instinct proficiency far beyond that of ordinary infantrymen. However, unlike the occasional chatter and banter around her, she remained silent, her gray-blue eyes cast down, as if deliberately concealing herself from the collective din. Deep within those eyes belied a sea of silence and distance, unbecoming of her 22 years, as if no ripple could disturb the abyss beneath. On the inside of her right wrist was a small but distinct tattoo, a geometric pattern composed of simple black lines and sharp angles, resembling the abstract silhouette of a raven, circling a tiny, almost imperceptible North Star. In this era of greater tolerance for tattoos, military regulations still existed, but such small tattoos generally didn't cause much trouble, unless someone was looking for trouble. "Hey, Jennings," a teasing voice broke the silence. Private First Class Mike Holland, chewing gum, sauntered over, his gaze fixed on her wrist with a lewd glance. "Are you admiring that mysterious secret mark again? Let me guess. Is it a street band logo? Or maybe a Morse code for your ex-boyfriend's name? Ooh, you have some unique taste." A few soldiers nearby chuckled in agreement. This level of mockery was practically the background noise of Sarah's daily life. Sarah didn't look up, didn't even pause. She simply twisted her wrist, even more awkwardly inward, trying to hide the skin with the edge of her camouflage sleeve. The only thing that betrayed her emotions was her knuckles, slightly whitened from the excessive force she applied as she cleaned the firing pin. "Stop it, Holland." Her voice was as calm as a still pool of water, devoid of anger, only a deep sense of weariness. "Oh, quite aggressive." Holland, seemingly amused, took 2 steps closer, his voice rising a few notches to ensure more people could hear. "I hear you were in the 28th Support Battalion? Is it that thing they give every cook or clerk, a commemorative tattoo? Or ... do you actually have a double life we don't know about? Becoming a superhero at night?" He gestured exaggeratedly, drawing another round of laughter. Sarah's back stiffened imperceptibly for a moment. The 28th Support Battalion, the flawless, unremarkable record in her file. A perfect hiding place. She didn't respond, simply reassembled the cleaned parts with a crisp, clean click. She shut out all noise, locking away the explosions, gunfire, and screams that consumed nearly all of her comrades, as well as the supreme honor and endless pain that the tattoo represented, all locked away in the deepest prison of her heart. She had chosen to come here, as an ordinary, perhaps even despised, private, simply to fulfill her final tour of duty, and then disappear completely, offering a tribute to the souls who could never return in a way so ordinary and dusty as to be forgotten. A few days later, the atmosphere at the base was completely different. A high-level joint inspection was imminent, with generals from Special Operations Command and the Army to observe a multi-service coordinated exercise. The entire base was like a wound-up machine, pristine everywhere, and the soldiers moved hurriedly, their expressions solemn. Sarah's platoon was assigned to secure the communications lines outside the exercise area. The task was tedious, requiring immense patience and meticulousness. At that moment, she was kneeling on the dry earth, sweat beading on her forehead, intently combing through a tangled bundle of fiber optic cables, trying to locate the culprit. Suddenly, a deep, authoritative voice boomed from behind her, its force unmistakable, penetrating power. Soldier, which core node is the redundant backup for this main line connected to? The markings on the map are blurry. Sarah instinctively rose, turned, stood at attention, and saluted. Her movements were clean and precise, without a single slouch. Standing before her was a major general in his 50s, with silver hair and a lean, upright figure. His gaze was as sharp as a hawk's, and his glance carried the oppressive air of a man long in command. The 2 stars on his shoulder boards gleamed brightly in the blazing sun. Beside him stood several equally stern-faced senior staff officers, as well as a Navy admiral in navy blue training uniform. A completely different yet equally commanding presence. The admiral's armband, the golden anchor and eagle, the insignia of the Navy SEALs, was clearly visible. "Reporting to the general." Sarah's voice was clear and steady, though her heart raced slightly at the sudden, higher-ranking inquiry. "This is connected to the 3rd backup underground fiber optic cable hub in Area B, sir. This node has its own independent power supply and armor protection, and it has the highest priority." As she quickly raised her hand in salute, and then neatly lowered it, the cuff of her camouflage uniform inevitably slipped slightly upward. The black, cold, geometric tattoo was completely exposed to the scorching sun and the sharp gazes of the 2 generals. Time seemed to have suddenly hit pause. The former Navy SEAL general's gaze, drawn by a magnet, suddenly locked on her wrist. The usual, slightly scrutinizing expression on his face during inspections instantly vanished, replaced by a look of utter, almost incredulous shock. That shock quickly transformed into an indescribable solemnity and awe. His pupils constricted as he stared at the pattern, as if trying to penetrate the skin to examine every detail beneath. Then, his gaze shot up like a searchlight, darting towards Sarah's face, eagerly searching her youthful, weathered, and calm features, confirming a startling suspicion. The next second, a scene occurred that froze the air around them. Without warning, this rear admiral, a man of countless achievements, legendary experience, and unparalleled military rank, inhaled sharply. His body stiffened like a gun, and he raised his right hand, saluting Sarah, a young woman in dusty training uniform, a mere private with a perfectly standard, solemn, and all-consuming military salute. His movements were lightning fast, yet heavy, as if carrying a tremendous weight. His expression held no trace of playfulness, tentativeness, or hesitation. Only a pure, soul-deep, almost instinctive reverence. Dead silence. Absolutely dead silence. It was as if even the wind had stopped. All the soldiers around, including the momentarily arrogant Holland, stood stunned, their faces etched with absurdity and horror. The accompanying base lieutenant colonel gaped, his hand folder nearly dropping, his eyes filled with utter bewilderment and panic. Sarah's face instantly paled to a pale white as a sheet. As if struck by an invisible bolt of lightning, her body lurched imperceptibly. Instinctively, she jerked her arms behind her, her gray-blue eyes filled with panic, pain, and a hint of despair, a tinge of resurrected wounds. Her most sturdy facade, at the moment she least expected it, was shattered in the most violent way possible. The admiral slowly lowered his arm, his voice unusually hoarse from the turmoil of his emotions. But he deliberately lowered it, so that it could be heard only by the small circle before him. "Night ravens?" The word, like a blood-curdled key, thrust into the keyhole deepest in Sarah's memory, with a soul-shaking, crisp sound. She bit her lower lip hard, nearly drawing blood. She neither admitted nor denied, remaining stubbornly silent. But the sea of dead silence in her eyes was already stirring with a surging tide. Major General Thomas frowned, looking at his colleagues in confusion, his eyes filled with questioning questions. The SEAL general took a deep breath, and turned to him. His voice was heavy and clear, each word hammering down on the hearts of everyone present. "Thomas, this tattoo. It's the permanent markings of the Night Ravens. A joint task force that exists nowhere in any public records or databases. It's a blend of the best personnel from Army Delta, Navy Dev GRU, SEAL Team 6, and Air Force 24 STS, specializing in the most sensitive, highest risk, cross-border direct operations." He paused, his gaze fixed on Sarah again, a mixture of respect and regret. 3 years ago, Cuddy named Dark Canyon. The goal was to capture drug lord Carlos Mendoza and destroy his maritime transport network. Operation classification, top secret. Location, deep in an uninhabited swamp on the Gulf Coast. His voice grew lower, yet even more shocking. They were ambushed. The intelligence was seriously flawed. It was a trap carefully laid by Mendoza. Over 150 well-equipped mercenaries and the drug lord's private army. A squad of 12 surrounded. The fierce battle lasted for 45 minutes. Communications were lost, and support could not arrive in time. They had expended almost all their ammunition, and to cover for the electronic warfare experts who forcibly destroyed the sensitive equipment and data they were carrying. Most of them. They fought to the bitter end, and were ultimately confirmed dead. The Admiral's gaze returned to Sarah, a gaze almost too much for her to bear. The operational report lists all team members as missing in action, presumed killed. Except for the one who, at the last moment, with the convoy nearly destroyed, single-handedly, armed with automatic weapons and a pistol, charged back into the core engagement zone 3 times. Under intense fire, she forcibly pulled 2 incapacitated teammates, shot in the chest and abdomen, from the burning and exploding wreckage. Miraculously, she used the last bit of power to repair the damaged radio and call for the crucial close air support. The medic and communications specialist. Her COD, NME. He spoke, almost word for word, the name that appeared only in a handful of top-level briefings. Wraith. All the clues, Sarah's silence, her practice, the ageless gaze that transcended her years, now connected, forming a shocking, speechless truth. Major General Thomas's face instantly turned livid, his eyes a crisscross of uncontrollable fury and deep respect. He whipped his head around, his gaze like a cold razor, sweeping across the pale, terrified soldiers around him. Finally, as if locking onto a target, it fixed on Holland, who was nearly paralyzed. "Soldier!" The general's voice, like thunderclap, shattered the dead silence, carrying undeniable authority and fury. "Your name, your rank." Holland trembled with fear, barely able to stand upright by instinct. He stammered his information, his voice trembling. "You!" And all those who participated in mocking and harassing this soldier. The general's voice was low, but it was like a cold steel whip lashing everyone's nerves. "You will be subject to a joint formal investigation by the base, command system, and the Army Criminal Investigation Command, SID. According to Article 92, disobeying a lawful order, Article 93, abuse of a comrade, and Article 134, destroying military order, and discipline, of the Uniform Code of Military Justice, UCMJ. Your actions are suspected of serious violations of discipline. You will be tried by a military court or the most severe administrative punishment. Your careers are over." He then glared at the pale-faced lieutenant colonel at the base and ordered, "Lieutenant Colonel, immediately arrange for Soldier Jennings. No, immediately arrange for this ghost lady to rest in your office. No one is allowed to disturb her without my order. I need to speak directly to her former unit commander and the highest officer at Army Personnel Command, H. RC. They've mobilized countless resources and secretly searched for her for 3 years. Finally, he approached Sarah, who remained frozen in place, her face as pale as paper, her body trembling slightly. Seeing the unfathomable pain and struggle in her eyes, the general's gaze softened, but the respect within it only grew stronger. He saluted Sarah slowly and solemnly. "Soldier," he said clearly, his voice gentle yet powerful, "no one forgets Night Raven. No one forgets their sacrifice. The army never forgets its heroes. Your country thanks you for your service, for all you have done, and for all you have endured." He paused, then spoke those heavy, heartwarming words. "Welcome home, Ghost." Sarah remained silent, but tears finally burst forth, silently streaming down her dust-stained cheeks. Her shoulders, previously tense as a hunch, began to tremble uncontrollably. Slowly, ever so slowly, she raised her right hand and returned the salute. This time, she did not conceal the tattoo. In the sunlight, the black, geometric pattern, once mocked countless times, was no longer a simple tattoo. It became a silent, blood-stained monument, a supreme emblem symbolizing courage, sacrifice, loyalty, and the return from hell, quietly telling the story of a long-forgotten heroic epic and a soul finally at peace. Those once disdainful glances had now been replaced by shame, unprecedented shock, and deep awe. On the training ground, only silence remained, and a legend finally vindicated.